1 week after the first meeting near Jupiter, human ships were appearing all across Zephyrian space. But these were not invasion fleets. Instead, Captain Morrison was leading a group of research vessels, medical ships, and cargo carriers filled with gifts. The first Zephyrian colony to receive human visitors was a mining world called Keptar. The planet's governor, a stern old alien named Dexman, watched nervously as human ships landed at his spaceport. He expected weapons and soldiers. Instead, humans came out carrying medical equipment and boxes of strange alien food, Dr. Helen Martinez was leading the cultural exchange program. She was a cheerful woman who spoke 17 Earth languages and had learned Zephyrian in just 3 days. She walked up to Governor Dexvin with a big smile and a gift box. "Governor," Helen said in perfect Zephyrian, "we're here to help your colony solve some problems. We've brought new medical technology, improved mining equipment, and something your people might enjoy." Dexvin opened the gift box suspiciously. Inside were small devices that looked like entertainment screens, along with data crystals containing what humans called movies, music, and books. "What is this?" the governor asked. "Entertainment," Helen replied. "Stories, songs, and games from Earth. We thought your people might like to see how humans spend their free time." Within hours, Zephyrian colonists were watching human movies and listening to Earth music. They had never seen anything like it. Zephyrian culture was orderly and predictable, but human stories were full of unexpected twists, impossible heroes, and endings that nobody could guess. Young Zephyrian scientist named Melrak spent the entire night watching a human movie series about space explorers who solved problems through teamwork and creative thinking. By morning, he was asking Governor Dexvin if he could work with the human scientists. The same scene was happening on dozens of Zephyrian worlds. Human cultural exchange teams were not conquering planets. They were making themselves welcome by, solving problems and sharing gifts that made life better and more interesting. Back on the Zephyrian homeworld, Fleet Admiral Kethver was reading reports that made no sense. Human ships had visited 47 colonies in 1 week, and every single colony was asking for more human contact. "Admiral," his aide reported, "the humans have shared medical technology that cures 3 diseases our doctors couldn't treat. They've improved our mining efficiency by 60% on 12 worlds. And their entertainment programs are more popular than anything we've produced in a century." Kethver rubbed his forehead. "Are they trying to take over our empire?" "Sir, they don't seem to be taking over anything. They're just making everything better. Our scientists are learning from them. Our sick people are getting healed, and our citizens are happier than they've been in years." Dr. Helen Martinez had established contact with Zephyrian intellectuals who had been ignored by their own government for decades. These alien scientists, artists, and philosophers had been frustrated by their civilization's focus on military conquest instead of discovery and growth. Professor Yexlin was one of the most respected Zephyrian scientists, but his research had been ignored because it wasn't useful for making weapons. When he met Helen, she spent 6 hours listening to his theories about quantum biology. "Dr. Martinez," Yexlin said excitedly, "in 300 years, no one has asked me about my research. Your species finds my work interesting." Helen smiled. "Professor, on Earth we believe that knowledge is valuable, even if it doesn't have immediate practical uses. Science is about understanding the universe, not just controlling it. The breakthrough that changed everything came from an unexpected source." Alex Kim was a 17-year-old human genius who had been working with Dr. Amy Chun on advanced physics problems. Alex was the kind of teenager who solved impossible equations for fun. While studying Zephyrian propulsion technology, Alex noticed something that adult scientists had missed. The aliens were fighting against the laws of physics instead of working with them. Dr. Chun, Alex said during a video call from his bedroom on Earth. "I think I know why Zephyrian ships are so slow compared to what they should be capable of." Amy looked interested. "What did you find, Alex?" Alex pulled up his calculations on the screen. "They're trying to force space to bend in ways it doesn't want to bend. But if you ask space nicely, instead of demanding it cooperate, you can go. Much faster with much less energy." Amy stared at the equations. They were embarrassingly simple once you looked at them from Alex's perspective. A teenage human had solved the propulsion problem that had puzzled the greatest Zephyrian engineers for generations. "Alex," Amy said slowly, "I think you just revolutionized space travel." Within days, human and Zephyrian engineers were working together to build a new type of engine based on Alex's theories. The test flight was successful beyond anyone's dreams. A ship using the new human-designed engine could travel between star systems in days instead of months. High Admiral Vextar, who was now working as a liaison between humans and his own government, delivered the final report to the Empire Council. He stood before the most powerful Zephyrians in the galaxy and told them something that would have been unthinkable just weeks earlier. "Honored counselors," Vextar began, "I must inform you that the Zephyrian Empire as we know it no longer exists." The council chamber erupted in shocked voices, but Vextar continued, "We have not been conquered by force. We have been transformed by contact with a species that showed us what we could become. Human technology has made our ships faster, our medicine better, and our people happier. But more importantly, they have reminded us what it means to grow and learn." Counselor Rexmar stood up angrily. "Admiral, are you saying we should surrender to these primitives?" "No, Counselor," Vextar replied calmly. "I'm saying it's already too late. Half of our scientists are working with human researchers. Our colonies are requesting more human contact. Our young people are learning human languages and studying human culture. The infection of possibility has spread too far to stop." "Infection?" another counselor asked. "Yes," Vextar said. "Humans have infected our civilization with something we lost long ago. They've given us back our curiosity, our creativity, and our hope for the future. Once a Zephyrian has worked with humans and seen what they can accomplish together, they never want to go back to the old ways." The council chamber was silent as the implications sank in. The mighty Zephyrian Empire, which had conquered 17 star systems through superior technology and military force, had been peacefully transformed by a species they had planned to enslave. "What do we do now?" Counselor Rexmar asked quietly. Vextar smiled for the first time in decades. "Now we become part of something bigger, more creative, and more exciting than anything our ancient empire ever achieved. We join the humans in exploring what's possible when different species work together instead of fighting each other." Captain Morrison received the Zephyrian Empire's official message 3 days later. It wasn't a surrender or a peace treaty. It was an invitation to help build something new. The message was simple. "Humanity, you were right. It was already too late for us to stop you. But instead of losing our empire, we discovered that we were gaining a future we never imagined. Welcome to the galaxy, partners." The Zephyrian Empire had learned the hard way that humanity's most dangerous weapon wasn't technology or creativity. Alone, it was their ability to make everyone around them want to become better than they thought possible. And once that transformation began, there was no going back to the way things used to be. Fleet Admiral Kethver was reviewing reports in his command center on the Zephyrian homeworld when the emergency message arrived. He had been expecting news of another successful conquest, but what he read made his blood turn cold. The message was short and impossible to believe. High Admiral Vextar's flagship, the most powerful warship in the Empire, had been disabled by a single human vessel using technology that made no sense. The humans had somehow made objects appear inside there. Ship and shut down all their systems without firing a single energy weapon. Keffer read the report 3 times. Then he called an emergency meeting of the Empire's military council. "This is impossible," said General Zakharin, the Empire's chief weapons specialist. "A species that uses chemical rockets cannot defeat quantum shielding." "The report says they didn't defeat our shields," Keffer replied. "They went around them completely. Their devices appeared inside our ship, bypassing our defenses entirely." While the Zephyrian leadership tried to understand what had happened, a small human shuttle was approaching the disabled alien warship near Jupiter. Dr. Ben Taylor sat in the pilot's seat, checking his translation equipment one more time. Ben was Earth's newly chosen ambassador to non-terrestrial civilizations, a job title that had been created just 12 hours earlier. He was a linguistics professor who specialized in communication theory, and he was about to have the most important conversation in human history. "Captain Morrison," Ben said into his radio, "I'm ready to board their ship." Morrison's voice came back immediately. "Dr. Taylor, are you sure about this? These aliens were planning to destroy Earth yesterday." Ben smiled as he looked at the massive alien vessel floating helplessly in space. "Captain, that's exactly why we need to talk to them. They need to understand that we're not their enemies." The shuttle docked with the alien ship, and Ben walked through the airlock, carrying nothing but a medical kit and a box of Earth food. The Zephyrian corridors were dark and cold, lit only by emergency lighting. Alien crew members floated in the zero gravity, looking confused and frightened. Ben found his way to the bridge, where High Admiral Vextar was strapped into his command chair, staring at blank screens. "High Admiral," Ben said and carefully practiced. "Zephyrian, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm here to help." Vextar looked at the human with suspicion. "Help? You have destroyed my ship." "Actually, we've just turned it off," Ben replied. "Like unplugging a machine. We can turn it back on any time you want. But first, I'd like to offer you some medical assistance for your crew, and maybe something to eat." Ben opened his medical kit and began treating a Zephyrian officer who had been injured when the gravity failed. As he worked, he talked casually about human medicine and how it might help alien biology. "You see, Admiral," Ben said as he bandaged the officer's arm, "we've been watching your empire's expansion for several months now. Your conquest pattern, your technology, your political structure. It's all quite impressive. But you've made the same mistake that many advanced civilizations make." "What mistake?" Vextar asked, then finished with the injured officer and turned to face the Admiral. "You've assumed that technological superiority equals strategic superiority. But strategy isn't about having the best weapons. It's about understanding your opponent." At that moment, Chief Technology Officer Nancy Brooks arrived on the alien bridge. Nancy was a small woman with bright eyes and grease-stained hands. She had spent the last few hours studying the alien ship systems. "Admiral Vextar," Nancy said cheerfully, "I hope you don't mind, but I've been looking at your quantum field generators. Very elegant design, but there are some efficiency problems." Vextar stared at her in shock. "You've been examining our technology?" "Oh yes," Nancy said, pulling out a small device. "Look at this. Your power systems are wasting about 30% of their energy because of quantum interference. I think I can fix that." Nancy connected her device to one of the alien consoles. Immediately, the lights on the bridge became brighter and steadier. "There," she said with satisfaction. "Much better. Your crew will be more comfortable now." Ben watched as Vextar's face went through a series of expressions: confusion, fear, and finally something that looked like wonder. "You improved our technology," the Admiral whispered. "In minutes," Nancy shrugged. "It wasn't that hard once I understood the principles. The problem with perfecting your technology is that you stop seeing new possibilities. We've been struggling with primitive tools for so long that when we finally see advanced technology, we immediately think of ways to make it better. Dr. Ben Taylor opened his box of Earth food and offered some to the alien crew members. They looked at it suspiciously at first, but hunger eventually won. Soon, Zephyrian officers were eating human sandwiches and asking questions about Earth cuisine. "Admiral," Ben said as he watched aliens and humans sharing food, "we need to talk about your empire's future. You came here planning to conquer us. But I think you'll find that's not going to work the way you expected." "Why not?" Vexstar asked. Nancy looked up from where she was reconfiguring another alien system. "Because, Admiral, you can't conquer a species that refuses to stay conquered. And humans are very, very stubborn." Ben nodded. "We've analyzed your empire's history. Every species you've conquered has eventually accepted defeat and joined your civilization. But humans don't work that way. When someone tells us something is impossible, we take that as a challenge." "But our technology is superior," Vexstar protested. "Your current technology is superior," Nancy corrected. "But look what we did to it in 24 hours. Imagine what we could do in a month or a year. Every time you build a better weapon, we'll find a more creative way to defeat it." Ben pulled out a data pad and showed it to the Admiral. "These are our population numbers, our industrial capacity, and our research capabilities. We're not the largest species in the galaxy, but we might be the most adaptable, and we reproduce very quickly." Vexstar studied the numbers, and his face grew pale. "You're threatening us." "No, Admiral," Ben said gently. "We're offering you as choice. You can try to fight us and spend the next century dealing with humans who keep finding new ways to surprise you. Or you can work with us and discover what your empire could become with human creativity added to Zephyrian technology." Nancy finished her work on the alien systems and clapped her hands together. "All done. Admiral, your ship now has about 40% better power efficiency, and I've eliminated most of the system conflicts that were causing stability problems. Oh, and I fixed that annoying vibration in your engines." Vexstar looked around his bridge, which was now brighter and quieter than it had been in years. His crew members were talking with the humans, sharing stories and comparing technologies. "What do you want from us?" he asked finally. Ben smiled. "Admiral, we want to show your empire something it lost a long time ago. We want to show you how to grow again." Outside the ship, more human vessels were arriving. Not warships, but research ships, medical ships, and vessels full of scientists and engineers who were excited to meet an alien civilization. The Zephyrian Empire was about to learn that humanity's most dangerous weapon wasn't any technology yet. All. It was their ability to turn enemies into friends and to make everyone around them want to become something better. High Admiral Vexstar stood on the bridge of his massive warship, watching the countdown timer that showed when the humans would surrender. Only 3 hours remained, and he was feeling bored. Every other species had either given up immediately or launched useless attacks that his shields easily stopped. "Admiral," called his sensor operator from across the bridge. "I'm getting strange readings from the human ship." Vexstar walked over to look at the displays. The human vessel Endeavor was still floating near Jupiter's moons, exactly where it had been for the past 21 hours. But something was different. What kind of strange readings? Vexstar asked. The young Zephyrian officer looked confused. "Sir, the ship appears to be fading. Our quantum sensors are having trouble maintaining a lock on it." Vexstar frowned. He had conquered 17 worlds and fought dozens of different species. He had seen cloaking devices, energy shields, and stealth fields, but this was something new. "Impossible," he said. "These humans barely understand basic space travel. They cannot have developed invisibility technology." "Admiral, Another officer called from the weapons station. The human ship has completely disappeared from our sensors. It's just gone. On the bridge of the Endeavour, Captain Morrison was watching his instruments with satisfaction. Chief, Engineer Kate Sullivan had spent the last 16 hours working without sleep to modify their mining equipment in ways the textbooks said were impossible. Kate, you're a genius, Morrison said. How did you manage to make an entire ship invisible? Kate wiped sweat from her forehead and smiled tiredly. Captain, it's not really invisibility. I've been studying those alien sensor readings we took yesterday. Their quantum detection systems work by reading energy patterns. So I built a field generator that folds space around our ship. Morrison looked confused. Fold space? Think of it like this, Kate explained. Imagine you're looking at a piece of paper with a dot on it. If I fold the paper so the dot is in the crease, you can't see it anymore, even though it's still there. That's what we're doing to our ship, but with space itself. Morrison grinned. And the aliens can't detect something that isn't technically in normal space. Exactly. Their sensors are looking for us in the wrong dimension. On the alien ship, High Admiral Vexstar was becoming worried. In 21 hours of watching the humans, nothing unusual had happened. Now their ship had vanished completely, and his advanced sensors could not explain how. Sir, the communications officer called. We're receiving reports from engineering. Small objects are appearing inside our ship. Vexstar felt a chill run down his spine. What kind of objects? Before anyone could answer, alarms began screaming throughout the massive warship. Red lights flashed as emergency systems activated. Vexstar could hear his crew shouting reports from stations all over the ship. Hull breach in Section 7. No, wait, there's no breach. Something just appeared inside the corridor. Engineering. Reports unknown devices materializing in the power core area. Security teams are seeing small machines in the weapons bay. They just appeared out of nowhere. In the mining ship's engine room, Kate Sullivan was monitoring her dimensional folding equipment with pride. She had taken the mining drones they used to collect asteroids and modified them with the same space folding technology that hid there. Ship, Captain, Kate said into her radio. All 36 drones have successfully materialized inside the alien vessel. Beginning Phase 2 now. Morrison smiled as he watched the alien ship through his telescope. Kate, remind me to recommend you for a promotion when this is over. The drones were not carrying weapons in any traditional sense. Instead, each one contained what Kate called an electromagnetic pulse generator, specially tuned to disrupt the quantum coherence that the Zephyrian technology relied on. She had built them by studying the alien ship's energy patterns and finding the exact frequency that would cause their systems to fail. On the Zephyrian bridge, High Admiral Vexstar watched in horror as his ship began to die around him. The lights flickered and went out. The artificial gravity failed, making everyone float in the air. The weapon systems shut down one by one. Engineering, report. Vexstar shouted into his communicator. The voice that answered was filled with panic. Admiral, unknown devices are disrupting our quantum field generators. Every system that relies on coherent energy is failing. We're losing power throughout the ship. Vexstar grabbed onto a console as his ship drifted helplessly in space. For the first time in his long career, he was experiencing something he had never felt before. Complete helplessness. Then the impossible became even worse. The main view screen flickered to life, and Captain Morrison's face appeared. The human was speaking perfect Zephyrian, without any translation delay. High Admiral. Vexstar, Morrison said calmly. I hope you don't mind that we've disabled your ship. We needed to have a conversation, and you seemed like you might not listen otherwise. How are you speaking our language? Vexstar demanded. Morrison smiled. Admiral, when your computer systems failed, They dumped their memory cores. We've been analyzing your databases for the last 10 minutes. Your language, your history, your technology specifications. Very interesting reading. Vexstar felt something he had not experienced in decades. Fear. What do you want, human? I want you to understand something important, Morrison replied. You made a mistake when you gave us 24 hours to think. Humans are very good at thinking, especially when someone threatens us. Your primitive technology cannot match the power of the Empire. Vexstar said, but his voice lacked conviction. Morrison laughed. Admiral, you're absolutely right. We can't match your technology, but we don't need to. You see, your people have spent so much time perfecting your tools that you've forgotten the most important rule of survival. What rule? Never give your enemy time to be creative, Morrison said. You built the perfect defense against energy weapons and plasma beams. But nobody told you to defend against mining equipment that folds space and electromagnetic pulses tuned to your specific quantum frequencies. Vexstar stared at the human face on his screen. You used mining equipment? Admiral, humans have been improvising with simple tools for millions of years. When we saw your advanced technology, we didn't try to copy it. We found ways to make it stop working. As if to emphasize his point, another wave of system failures swept through the Zephyrian ship. Emergency lighting failed, life support systems stuttered, and the mighty warship that had conquered 17 worlds drifted helplessly in the dark. Morrison's voice continued, still perfectly calm. High Admiral, your ship is not destroyed, and your crew is not harmed, but you're going to listen to what we have to say. Because humanity's greatest weapon isn't our technology. Then what is it? Vexstar whispered. Morrison smiled, and for the first time, Vexstar understood why other species might fear humans. Our creativity. General Peter Kane stood in the emergency command center deep under Colorado's Rocky Mountains. The room was filled with military officers, scientists, and government officials who had been woken up in the middle of the night. Coffee cups and energy drinks covered every table as Earth's leaders tried to understand what they were facing. Ladies and gentlemen, Kane said, his voice cutting through the worried conversations. 6 hours ago, we made contact with a hostile alien empire. They have given us 18 hours to surrender our entire planet, or they will destroy us. The room went silent. Kane was a big man with gray hair and scars on his hands from 30 years in the military. When he spoke, people listened. I know this sounds impossible, Kane continued, but we have confirmed reports from Captain Morrison near Jupiter. The alien ship is real, and it's bigger than anything we've ever built. Their weapons could turn our cities into glass. Dr. Amy Chun raised her hand. She was the head scientist at the Prometheus Research Institute, where Earth's best minds worked on advanced technology. General, I've been studying the data that Captain Morrison sent us. This alien ship is incredibly advanced, but it's not magic. Kane nodded to her. Doctor, please share what you found. Amy walked to the front of the room and activated a holographic display. The alien ship appeared in blue light, rotating slowly so everyone could see its design. The Zephyrians use quantum field technology for almost everything, Amy said. Their engines, their shields, their weapons. It's very elegant, but also very predictable. They've been using the same basic principles for so long that they've stopped thinking about alternatives. A voice from the back of the room called out, Doctor, are you saying we can fight them? Amy smiled, and for the first time since the crisis began, Kane saw hope in someone's eyes. I'm saying they're fighting the last war, Amy replied. Every system on their ship is designed to battle other energy-based civilizations. They've built the perfect defense against quantum weapons and plasma beams. But they've never met a species like us. Lieutenant Commander Rick Barnes was sitting at a communication station, coordinating with defense bases all around the solar system. He had been quiet during most of the meeting, but now he looked up with excitement. "Dr. Chun is right," Rick said. "I've been talking to our mining stations in the asteroid belt. We have equipment out there that the aliens probably can't even detect properly. Machines that work by moving rocks around, not by shooting energy beams." Kane felt the first stirring of an idea. "Explain what you mean, Commander." Rick stood up and pointed to the holographic alien ship. "General, we've been thinking about this wrong. We keep asking how we can match their technology. But what if we don't need to? What if we use technology they don't understand because it's too simple?" Dr. Amy Chun's eyes lit up. "Commander Barnes is absolutely right. The Zephyrians have quantum sensors that can detect energy signatures from millions of kilometers away. But can they track a chunk of iron moving through space with no power source?" Kane was beginning to understand. "You're talking about kinetic weapons, rocks and metal moving very fast." "Not just rocks, General," Amy said. "I'm talking about creative applications of physics that don't match their assumptions about how advanced civilizations fight wars." The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. Scientists and engineers worked together to design weapons and strategies that the alien empire had never encountered. The plan that emerged was simple in concept, but brilliant in execution. While the Zephyrians expected either surrender or a futile attack with human spaceships, Earth would give them something completely different. Something their advanced sensors couldn't properly categorize because it didn't fit their understanding of how space combat worked. Dr. Chun led a team that worked on modifying mining equipment. The big machines that cut asteroids apart could be changed into something much more dangerous. But instead of making them more powerful, they made them quieter and harder to detect. Rick Barnes coordinated with every human installation in the solar system. Mining stations, research outposts, even the small colonies on Mars. Each location began preparing equipment that looked harmless, but could become part of something larger. Captain Morrison's voice came through the communications system from his ship near Jupiter. "Earth Command, I'm watching their ship. The aliens are not paying much attention to anything smaller than a battleship. They think we're just insects running around." Kane smiled grimly. "Captain, insects can be very dangerous. When they work together, how much time do we have?" 14 hours, General. But I don't think they're worried about our deadline. Their crew seems relaxed, like they're just waiting for us to give up." Kane looked around the command center at all the people working desperately to save their world. "Captain Morrison, the one thing humans have always been good at is surprising people who underestimate us." Dr. Amy Chun had been quiet for the past hour, working on calculations. Now she looked up with a strange expression on her face. "General," she said, "I think I know why the aliens were willing to give us time. In every conquest they've made before, the other species either surrendered immediately or attacked with conventional weapons. They've never fought an enemy that needed time to think." Kane raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "I mean, they don't understand creativity under pressure. Their technology is so advanced that they've forgotten how to improvise. They gave us time because they can't imagine what we might do with it." Rick Barnes laughed, and the sound was not entirely pleasant. "They're about to find out that giving humans time to think is the most dangerous thing you can do." As the hours passed, reports came in from across the solar system. Equipment was being modified, plans were being made, and humanity was preparing to show an ancient empire something they had never seen before. The Zephyrians thought they were being generous by allowing Earth one day to accept the inevitable. They had no idea that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't any piece of technology. It was their refusal to accept that anything was truly impossible. The massive alien ship appeared without warning near Jupiter's outer moons. Captain Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the alarm started screaming across the bridge of his small research vessel, the Endeavour. The cup fell from his hands as he stared at the view screen in shock. The alien craft was enormous, 3 kilometers long and shaped like a curved blade. It made Morrison's ship look like a toy boat next to an aircraft carrier. Strange purple lights pulsed along its dark hull, and weapons that looked like giant spears jutted out from its sides. Morrison had been exploring space for 15 years, but he had never seen anything like this. "Captain, we're getting a signal," said Lieutenant Carol Davis from the communications station. Her voice was shaking. "It's coming through on all frequencies at once." The main screen flickered, and then an alien face appeared. The creature had blue-gray skin stretched tight over sharp bones. Its eyes were large and golden, with no pupils that Morrison could see. When it spoke, its voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. "I am High Admiral Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire," the alien said. The words came through their computer's translation system, but there was a delay that made everything sound strange. "Your primitive species has been found and judged. You will surrender your world to the Empire, or we will take it by force." Morrison stood up slowly. His crew of 12 people looked at him with fear in their eyes. They were scientists and engineers, not soldiers. Their ship had no weapons except for some mining lasers used to cut through asteroids. "High Admiral," Morrison said, trying to keep his voice steady, "we are just explorers from the planet Earth. We mean no harm to you or your empire." The alien's face showed what might have been amusement. "Harm? You are insects compared to us. Human, your entire species uses crude chemical rockets to crawl between your nearby worlds. We have conquered 17 star systems with weapons you cannot imagine. You have one choice: submit now or watch your blue world burn." Morrison felt sweat running down his back, but he had spent years in dangerous situations. Deep space was full of radiation storms, equipment failures, and 1,000 ways to die. He had learned to think clearly, even when he was afraid. "I understand your position, High Admiral," Morrison said, "but I need time to contact my people. Such an important decision cannot be made by one man." The alien leaned forward. "It's golden." Eyes seemed to glow brighter. "Time? What could your backward species possibly do with more time?" 24 hours, Morrison said. "Give me 1 day to prepare my people for what you're asking. Surely a civilization as advanced as yours can. Be patient for such a short time." High Admiral Vextar was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, Morrison could hear something like laughter in his voice. "Very well, human. One of your days. Use this time to say goodbye to your freedom. When we return, you will bow before the Empire or be destroyed." The screen went dark. The alien ship hung in space like a sleeping giant. Its weapons pointed toward the inner solar system, where Earth waited, unaware of what was coming. Morrison turned to his crew. "Carol, open a secure channel to Earth Command. Maximum encryption. Ben, I need you to scan that ship with everything we have. I want to know how it moves, how it fights, and how it thinks." Lieutenant Ben Hughes looked confused. "Captain, what good will that do? You saw the size of that thing. Our entire fleet couldn't scratch its hull." Morrison walked to the navigation console and began typing commands. "Ben, I've been studying alien technology for 10 years. Every civilization thinks their way is the best way, but there's always another answer if you know where to look." As the Endeavor's sensors began their secret scan of the alien dreadnought, Morrison composed his message to Earth, but it wasn't a surrender. Hidden inside routine telemetry data and navigation reports, he embedded everything they were learning about the alien ship. Its energy patterns, its hull composition, the frequency of its weapons. Even the way its crew moved around inside Dr. Lisa Park received the message at the Deep Space Communications Array in Australia. She was working the night shift, monitoring signals from human colonies on Mars and the asteroid mining stations. When Morrison's transmission came through, she almost deleted it as routine survey data. Then she saw the hidden code that meant emergency. As she decoded the message, her face went pale. She read it 3 times to make sure she understood what Morrison was telling her. Earth had been found by an alien empire. The aliens were giving humanity 1 day to surrender completely. But Morrison had also sent them something precious, a complete technical analysis of the alien ship and its weaknesses. Lisa grabbed her phone and called General Peter Kane at Earth Defense Command. It was 3 in the morning, but Kane answered on the second ring. He never slept well anyway. "General, we have a problem," Lisa said. "A big problem. But maybe also an opportunity." While Lisa explained the situation to Kane, Morrison kept watching the alien ship through his sensors. The Zephyrians thought they were being generous by giving humanity time to accept defeat. They had no idea that humans were very good at using time in ways their enemies never expected. The alien ship's crew was settling in for what they thought would be a boring wait. They had done this 17 times before. Every species either surrendered immediately or fought with predictable weapons that their shields could easily stop. Humans would be no different. High Admiral Vextar was already planning his victory speech when he would broadcast Earth's surrender to the Empire. Another star system conquered, another primitive species brought under Zephyrian control. It would be just like all the others. He had no way of knowing that. Humanity's greatest strength had nothing to do with their technology. For millions of years, humans had survived by being creative, by finding new solutions to impossible problems, by refusing to accept that anything was truly hopeless. The Zephyrian Empire was about to learn that giving humans time to think was the biggest mistake they could have made.